in the mortal realm, on the island of Crete, a young princess named Europa roamed the shores, unaware that her beauty and spirit had caught the eye of the king of gods. Europa was a figure of elegance and grace, her presence as radiant as the sunlight that danced upon the waves. But it was her sense of wonder, her innocent curiosity about the world, that captivated Zeus, igniting a passion within him that he could not ignore. To the gods of Olympus, Zeus's inclinations were no secret. His passions, often sparked by beauty and innocence, led to countless liaisons that stirred the heavens. Yet this time, there was something unique about Europa that drew him in, a purity and liveliness that contrasted with the divine conflicts of Olympus. For a moment, Zeus saw in her the escape he sought from the weight of his rule, a respite from his eternal responsibilities. Though aware of the complications his affections would bring, Zeus was not one to deny his desires. Determined to pursue Europa, he devised a plan, knowing that his approach must be gentle and disguised. Aware of her love for nature, he chose to appear to her in the form of a magnificent white bull, one so beautiful and serene that it would draw her curiosity and trust. One morning, as Europa walked along the seashore with her companions, her gaze fell upon a majestic white bull grazing nearby. His coat shone like polished ivory, his eyes gentle and warm, exuding a peaceful presence that contrasted with his immense strength. Drawn by the bull's beauty and gentleness, Europa felt an inexplicable bond with the creature, sensing a kindness in his gaze that invited her to come closer. Her friends watched as Europa approached the bull, laughing with delight as she reached out to touch his soft, glistening coat. She was enchanted, sensing no danger as she caressed the bull's neck, her fingers trailing along the curve of his horns. In that moment, her heart opened to the mysterious creature, unaware of the true nature hidden behind the eyes that gazed upon her with adoration. As her friends encouraged her to climb upon the bull's back, Europa gave in to the thrill of adventure. She mounted the bull, feeling an unexpected rush of excitement as he moved with careful, graceful steps, as if guiding her toward an unknown destination. In an instant, the peaceful moment transformed. The bull, now under Zeus's complete control, dashed forward, carrying Europa away from the shore. Her laughter turned to surprise, and then to a mixture of fear and awe as the bull leapt into the air, soaring over the waves with divine speed and power. Clinging tightly to his neck, Europa's heart raced, yet she felt a strange sense of trust, an inexplicable bond with the creature that carried her. Zeus, in his bull form, raced across the Aegean Sea, carrying Europa far from her homeland, from the life she had known, toward the island of Crete. Beneath them, the waves sparkled like jewels, their shimmering reflections mirroring the excitement and wonder in Europa's eyes. In this moment, Zeus felt a connection not just to Europa, but to the fleeting thrill of mortal life, an adventure that allowed him to forget, if only briefly, the weight of his rule. As they reached the shores of Crete, Zeus gently set Europa down, transforming back into his true form. Europa, though initially startled, recognized the god before her and understood the divinity in the creature she had trusted so completely. Awestruck and humbled, she looked upon Zeus with both reverence and curiosity. As Zeus revealed himself, Europa felt a wave of emotions: fear, awe, and an undeniable fascination with the god who had carried her across the sea. Zeus spoke to her softly, his voice carrying a warmth that reassured her, melting away her apprehension. "Europa," he said, his tone gentle yet filled with admiration, "I have watched you from Olympus, drawn to your beauty and spirit. In you I have found a joy that even the realms of the gods cannot offer." Europa, though overwhelmed, felt a spark of destiny between them. She understood that her life would be forever changed by this encounter, that she was now woven into the tapestry of the divine. Moved by his words and presence, she accepted the god's embrace, and in that moment, a bond was forged, a connection that would echo through both mortal and immortal worlds. Under the warm sun of Crete, Zeus and Europa shared a moment of union, their lives intertwined in a way that would ripple through generations. Their bond was more than a fleeting passion. It was a merging of the divine with the mortal, an encounter that would bear fruit both powerful and fateful. Back on Olympus, however, all was not peaceful. Hera, Zeus's wife and the queen of the gods, soon learned of her husband's latest escapade. Her heart burned with jealousy and anger as she discovered the lengths to which Zeus had gone to pursue Europa. Hera's wrath was well known across Olympus, and Zeus understood that each of his affairs only deepened her resentment, a wound that festered with every act of infidelity. Though Hera could not undo what had transpired, her rage would not go unexpressed. She vowed to make her displeasure known, and her anger took form in whispered threats, vows of revenge, and subtle actions against those associated with Zeus's liaisons. Each affair fed her fury, a simmering wrath that Zeus knew would one day boil over, threatening the unity of Olympus and his rule. For Hera, Zeus's actions with Europa were yet another betrayal, a painful reminder of her husband's wandering heart and disregard for the vows they had taken. And while Zeus remained enchanted by Europa, Hera's resentment grew, adding tension to an already fragile peace on Olympus. From the union of Zeus and Europa came Minos, a son destined to be a powerful king of Crete. Blessed with strength, wisdom, and a natural authority, Minos grew to embody both his mother's beauty and his father's godly heritage. he became a ruler beloved by his people, his presence commanding respect and loyalty. Through Minos, Zeus's legacy extended into the mortal world, his influence felt in every corner of Crete. Yet, as Minos's power grew, so did the challenges that came with it. Though he carried the blood of a god, he was bound by mortal struggles, tasked with leading his people and maintaining peace. His life, like that of all Zeus's offspring, bore the weight of his divine heritage, a legacy that often brought both honor and hardship. With each descendant born of his passions, Zeus's influence over the mortal world expanded, intertwining the fate of gods and mortals. Yet he knew that each connection came at a price, each child a reminder of the delicate balance between his power and the consequences that often followed. Zeus returned to Olympus, his encounter with Europa, a memory he would cherish. Yet he understood that every pursuit, every act of passion, came with a cost. Hera's jealousy continued to grow, simmering beneath the surface, her resentment deepening with each affair. The consequences of his romantic entanglements were not only personal, but political, threatening to strain the unity of Olympus and the loyalty of those closest to him. In Europa, Zeus had found a joy and freedom that even Olympus could not provide, but he knew that his pursuits left ripples that affected all realms, both mortal and divine. His legacy was vast, yet it carried a fragility he could not ignore, a reminder that even gods were bound by the complexities of love and loyalty, power and consequence. As time passed, the legend of Europa and the White Bull became a tale told across the land. Mortals spoke of the god who had crossed the seas for love, who had defied convention to pursue his desires. The story became both a symbol of divine passion and a cautionary tale, a reminder of the volatile nature of the gods and the power they wielded over mortal lives. Europa's legacy endured through her son Minos, whose rule brought Crete prosperity and strength, his bloodline a testament to the merging of the divine and mortal. Zeus's affection for Europa had set in motion events that would shape history, a story woven into the fabric of both realms. But Zeus's passions were far from fulfilled. Join us in the next episode as Zeus's desire takes a new form, leading him to yet another mortal woman, Leda. Disguised as a graceful swan, Zeus's pursuit of love will bring beauty, betrayal, and legendary offspring, setting the stage for a story that will echo through both Olympus and the mortal world. In the kingdom of Sparta, a queen of remarkable beauty and grace lived, a woman named Leda, known not only for her elegance but also for her wisdom and kindness. Leda was revered by her people and respected by her peers. Her presence radiated a quiet strength that captivated all who met her, drawing admiration and respect in equal measure. From Olympus, Zeus watched her with growing fascination. The tales of Leda's beauty reached him as whispers on the wind, igniting a desire within him that could not be contained. Leda's poise and dignity, her unwavering devotion to her people and family, stirred Zeus's heart, drawing him toward her as irresistibly as the tide to the shore. He knew that Leda's trust would not be easily won, and he sought a way to approach her without invoking fear or mistrust. Thus, Zeus devised a plan to reach her heart by taking on a form that would stir her curiosity and compassion, a transformation that would bring him closer to her while maintaining a guise of innocence. He decided to approach her in the shape of a swan, a creature associated with beauty, mystery, and grace, hoping that his presence would intrigue rather than alarm her. One evening, as twilight descended over the land, Leda wandered to the edge of a lake near her palace, drawn by the tranquility of the water and the soft light of the setting sun. She often sought solace in nature, finding peace in the simple beauty of the world around her. It was here, in the quiet solitude of the lake, that she saw a magnificent white swan gliding effortlessly across the water, its feathers as radiant as fresh snow, catching the last rays of sunlight. The swan seemed to radiate a presence unlike any other creature she had seen, its movements elegant and serene. Leda felt an inexplicable bond with the swan as she watched it approach the shore, its large dark eyes filled with what seemed like intelligence and warmth. The bird, unafraid, drew closer to her, settling by her side with a trust and gentleness that surprised her. Curiosity and awe filled her heart as she reached out to touch the swan's feathers, feeling their softness beneath her fingers. She had no way of knowing that this creature was, in truth, Zeus himself, drawn to her by an affection that spanned the realms of gods and mortals alike. As Leda caressed the swan, a deep calm settled over her, and she felt as if she were under a spell. The swan nestled closer, its wings wrapping gently around her, and in that intimate moment, an energy passed between them, an otherworldly presence that seemed to transcend words and thoughts. Zeus, in his swan form, sensed her openness and vulnerability, knowing that his affection would forever change her life. The lake, the stars, and the distant shadows of evening bore witness to their union, a merging of divine and mortal that would ripple through both realms. In that quiet moment, Leda found herself inexplicably bound to the creature by her side, sensing an extraordinary connection yet unable to grasp the true nature of the swan's identity. Zeus, with his passion fulfilled, knew that their encounter would bring forth a legacy unlike any other, a lineage that would influence both mortals and gods. As dawn broke over Sparta, Leda returned to her palace, her heart heavy with a mix of wonder and confusion. She held within her a sense of awe for the mysterious encounter, though she could not fully understand the forces at play. Soon, however, The effects of her encounter with Zeus became clear as she discovered she was with child. What she did not realize was that her union with the god would bear not one child, but 4, their destinies intertwined with those of both mortal and divine. On the day of their birth, Leda was blessed with 2 sets of twins, 2 children of divine heritage, and 2 born of her mortal union with her husband, King Tyndareus. From her union with Zeus came Helen, the woman who would become known as the most beautiful in all of Greece, and Pollux, a warrior with unmatched skill and courage. From her husband were born Castor, the other half of Pollux's soul, and Clytemnestra, a future queen destined for a life of both triumph and tragedy. Thus, the seeds of Zeus's influence took root in the lives of mortals, creating a lineage that would alter the course of history, shaping the fates of kingdoms and gods alike. Back on Olympus, Hera soon discovered her husband's latest indiscretion. Her heart burned with rage, a familiar yet unyielding fire that grew each time Zeus indulged in his passions among mortals. The birth of Helen, whose beauty would one day spark a great war, and Pollux, a son with the strength and courage of his divine father, only fueled her resentment. She knew these children, like so many of Zeus's offspring, would forever alter the mortal world, leaving marks that would not easily fade. Hera's wrath manifested in vows of retribution, her jealousy spilling over into her dealings with both mortals and gods. She knew that Zeus's actions were bound to create ripples of conflict and strife, but her grievances were personal as well, her heart wounded by the constancy of Zeus's pursuits. Although she could not prevent him from wandering, she would ensure that his actions would have consequences and her anger would not remain silent. As the years passed, the children of Leda grew, each one bearing the marks of their lineage. Helen's beauty became legendary, a gift and a burden that would ultimately ignite the Trojan War, altering the lives of countless mortals and gods. Pollux and Castor, inseparable in spirit, became heroes, revered for their bravery and loyalty. Their bond transcended mortality itself, as they would one day be immortalized together in the heavens as the constellation Gemini. Clytemnestra, strong and cunning, rose to power as a queen, yet her life was marred by tragedy, a journey that would bring both greatness and sorrow. Each of Leda's children carried with them the influence of Zeus's divine touch, their destinies shaped by forces beyond their control, woven into the tapestry of myth and legend. The union between Zeus and Leda became a symbol of the far-reaching power of the gods, a reminder that even a single moment could ripple through eternity, altering the lives of mortals and the fate of kingdoms. Though Zeus returned to Olympus, his influence remained in the world below, binding him to the lives of mortals in ways he could not foresee. In the aftermath of the affair, the gods of Olympus observed the impact of Zeus's actions with mixed feelings. Athena, goddess of wisdom, saw both the promise and peril in the lives of Leda's children, recognizing that each carried a spark that would change the world. Mortals are fragile, yet their lives resonate with purpose, she observed, her gaze distant. Zeus's connections with them forge bonds that transcend the heavens, weaving us into the mortal experience in ways we cannot fully control. Be brought forth lives filled with meaning and strength. Each child born of these unions bridges our worlds, she mused, reminding us of the depth and beauty that lie in mortal hearts. Yet Hera, seething with resentment, viewed each child as another mark of betrayal. For her, Zeus's romantic escapades brought only discord, complicating the unity of Olympus and eroding her trust. He plays with mortals as if they were toys, she murmured bitterly, leaving the rest of us to bear the consequences of his whims. The gods understood that Zeus's liaisons, for all their passion, came with a price. Each affair added another thread to the web of fate, a reminder of the intricate balance between power and consequence that governed both gods and mortals. The tale of Leda and the Swan spread throughout Greece, becoming a legend that spoke of beauty, mystery, and divine intervention. Mortals saw in the story both awe and caution, a reminder that the gods' favor could bring either blessing or calamity. The children of Leda, blessed and burdened by their divine heritage, would forever bear the legacy of that fateful encounter by the lake. Through Helen, Pollux, Castor, and Clytemnestra, Zeus's influence over the mortal world would continue to shape history, binding Olympus to the fates of humankind. And as the stories grew, they became a testament to the enduring presence of the gods in mortal lives, a reminder that even the most fleeting moments could echo across generations. But the impact of Zeus's passions would not be felt by mortals alone. Join us in the next episode as Hera's simmering jealousy boils over, targeting those who dared to love Zeus and the children born from these liaisons. In her fury, Hera will weave curses that will haunt both gods and mortals, turning love into a double-edged sword and setting the stage for tragic destinies. In the heights of Olympus, Hera watched as Zeus's affections wandered from mortal to mortal, leaving behind a trail of broken hearts, cursed fates, and children born with divine power. Each new affair deepened her resentment, a wound that would not heal, despite Zeus's promises and his assurances that his dalliances meant nothing compared to their marriage. But Hera was not a goddess to be easily pacified. Her love for Zeus was fierce, and so was her fury. For years, Hera had remained silent, her pride binding her to a throne beside her husband, even as his affections strayed. She held her head high, her dignity intact, but her heart seethed with betrayal. With each new affair, each child born of Zeus's unions with mortals. Hera's patience wore thinner until finally her rage could no longer be contained. She resolved that if Zeus could not be held accountable, then those who welcomed his advances would bear the weight of her wrath. One of Hera's earliest targets was Io, a beautiful priestess of Hera herself, whom Zeus had seduced and concealed from his wife's watchful eye. When Hera finally discovered the affair, she approached Zeus with a calmness that belied the storm within. Recognizing the danger, Zeus quickly transformed Io into a cow, hoping to protect her from Hera's wrath. But Hera was not easily deceived. Seeing through Zeus's trick, she accepted the cow as a gift and placed Io under the watch of Argus, a giant with 100 eyes who never fully slept. Yet Hera's punishment for Io did not end there. As the goddess watched over Io, she sent a relentless gadfly to pursue her, tormenting the young woman wherever she roamed. Io, still in her cow form, was driven across vast lands, plagued by the sting of the gadfly, her suffering a constant reminder of Hera's displeasure. Hera's vengeance transformed Io's life into an unending ordeal, a journey across seas and mountains that symbolized the weight of her curse. For Hera, Io's suffering was not only retribution, but a warning to others. She wanted all of Olympus and the mortal realm to know that those who courted her husband would be marked by her fury, their lives haunted by her unyielding power. Another of Zeus's lovers who felt Hera's wrath was Semele, a mortal princess whose beauty and charm had captured Zeus's heart. Hera, sensing her husband's affection for Semele, devised a cunning plan to undermine the mortal woman. Disguising herself as a kind old nurse, Hera approached Semele, feigning kindness and concern. She spoke to Semele in soothing tones, urging her to seek proof of Zeus's divinity. "If he truly loves you, my dear," Hera suggested slyly, "then ask him to reveal himself to you in his true form as he appears in the heavens." Driven by curiosity and encouraged by Hera's words, Semele approached Zeus and made her request, swearing him to an unbreakable oath that he would grant her wish. Bound by his promise, Zeus was forced to reveal his true divine form to Semele. The sheer power of his godly presence was too much for her mortal body, and she was consumed in a blaze of divine fire, perishing in an instant. Though Semele's child Dionysus would later be born from Zeus's intervention, her death left a mark on Zeus and served as a cruel reminder of Hera's reach. Hera's jealousy had turned Semele's love into a tragic tale, a life extinguished by the very power she sought to glimpse. Another who fell victim to Hera's wrath was Callisto, a devoted follower of Artemis who had taken a vow of chastity. But Zeus, drawn to her beauty and purity, could not resist and approached her disguised as Artemis herself. Callisto, deceived by his form, became pregnant with Zeus's child. When her condition was revealed, Artemis, feeling betrayed by Callisto's broken vow, banished her from her circle, leaving Callisto vulnerable and alone. When Hera discovered that Callisto was yet another of Zeus's lovers, her anger flared, and she transformed the young woman into a bear, cursing her to live as a hunted creature, cut off from the love and companionship she'd once known. Callisto roamed the forests, her human memories haunting her as she navigated the wilderness in her new form, fearing the arrows of hunters who saw her only as prey. Yet, in the end, Zeus took pity on Callisto and placed her among the stars, transforming her into the constellation Ursa Major, the Great Bear, where she would forever remain out of Hera's reach. Hera, though thwarted, was not entirely defeated. Callisto's transformation served as a reminder that Hera's wrath could alter lives in ways even Zeus's compassion could not undo. Hera's jealousy extended beyond Zeus's mortal lovers to those who helped him in his schemes. One such unfortunate was Echo, a nymph with a beautiful voice who had unwittingly distracted Hera with her chatter while Zeus engaged in his pursuits. When Hera realized Echo's role in aiding Zeus's affairs, she placed a unique curse upon her, stealing Echo's voice and condemning her only to repeat the words of others. Echo's voice, once vibrant and melodic, was reduced to fragments, her laughter and songs stripped from her. For Echo, the curse was a life of isolation and sorrow, forever repeating the voices around her, unable to express her own thoughts and feelings. Her once joyful existence was silenced, and she faded into the forests, a mere whisper of her former self. Hera's vengeance reached far and wide, affecting not only those who loved Zeus, but also those who unknowingly played a part in his deception. As the years passed, Hera's jealousy became legendary among both gods and mortals. Every story, every curse, every tragedy left a trail of heartbreak and loss, shaping the lives of mortals and demigods alike. Her wrath became a force as feared as Zeus's thunderbolt, casting a shadow over any who dared to attract Zeus's attention. Yet, for all her anger, Hera could not prevent Zeus from pursuing his passions. Each new lover, each new child born from Zeus's unions only fueled her resentment, creating a cycle of vengeance that had no end. The mortals who bore Zeus's offspring lived in constant fear of Hera's gaze, knowing that even their children would not be safe from her fury. Hera's anger, while powerful, could not alter her husband's nature, and so her curses became a bittersweet legacy, a mark of both her suffering and her strength as the queen of Olympus. In the halls of Olympus, the other gods observed Hera's wrath with a mixture of respect and apprehension. They understood the pain behind her anger, the betrayal she felt each time Zeus wandered, yet they also saw the toll her jealousy took on those who crossed her path. Athena, goddess of wisdom, saw the complexity of Hera's anger, recognizing that it was both justified and tragic. Her love for Zeus is strong, but it has become a chain that binds her, leading her down a path of sorrow, Athena remarked thoughtfully. Aphrodite, the goddess of love, felt both sympathy and frustration. Love is a force that can elevate and destroy, she mused. Hera's love is fierce, but so is her pride. If only she could release herself from this cycle, perhaps she would find peace. Even Zeus, though often dismissive of Hera's anger, felt the impact of her jealousy, recognizing the damage it wrought on mortals and on his own relationships. He understood that his actions had consequences, yet his passions were an intrinsic part of his nature. The gods knew that Hera's wrath was a force that could not be easily tempered. Her love and anger intertwined in a way that defied resolution. Over time, the stories of Hera's wrath became cautionary tales among mortals, serving as both warnings and tragic legends. Lovers of Zeus, whether mortal or divine, learned to live in fear of her jealousy, knowing that the goddess's vengeance could reach beyond the boundaries of Olympus, altering lives and rewriting destinies. Eo's torment, Semele's tragic death, Callisto's transformation, and Echo's silencing became tales whispered across the lands, each story a reminder of the complexity and power of the gods' emotions. Hera's curses were more than punishments. They became woven into the mortal experience, reminders that the gods' favor was as dangerous as their scorn. The mortals who heard these tales learned to respect the boundaries of the divine, knowing that the gods' love could bring both blessings and calamity. Yet for Hera, each curse was a bittersweet reminder of her bond with Zeus, a bond she could not break, yet could never fully mend. Her anger, though fierce, was a testament to the depth of her love, a love that would forever shape her actions, defining her as both a queen and a woman bound by loyalty and pain. But Hera's wrath would not end with words and curses. Join us in the next episode as we follow the story of Io, the beloved mortal cursed to roam the earth as a cow, tormented by Hera's relentless vengeance. Io's journey will take her across land and sea, a tale of suffering and resilience that will test her spirit and reveal the lengths to which Hera will go to protect her place as queen. Among the mortals who had caught Zeus's eye, few were as captivating as Io, a priestess of Hera's own temple. Io was known for her purity, dedication, and beauty. Her devotion to the goddess had won her the admiration of her people, and her presence in Hera's temple was a symbol of both loyalty and reverence. Yet, despite the sanctity of her position, Io had drawn the attention of Zeus himself, who became enamored with her gentle spirit and serene beauty. For Zeus, the priestess represented a rare kind of allure, one born not from ambition or status, but from a quiet strength that emanated from her very soul. Despite the risk, He felt compelled to approach her, to win her affection. He knew, however, that he had to act with caution, for any misstep would invoke Hera's jealousy, especially given Io's role as a priestess in Hera's temple. Determined to keep their encounter hidden from his wife, Zeus waited for a misty morning to descend over the land, shrouding the temple in fog. Under the cover of this mist, he approached Io, whispering words of comfort and affection, assuring her that his intentions were sincere and that her purity and devotion only made him admire her more. Awed by the presence of the god, Io felt a mix of fear and fascination, her heart torn between her devotion to Hera and the impossible bond forming between her and Zeus. Though hesitant, Io found herself drawn to Zeus's gentle words and his divine charm. She could not fully understand her own feelings, yet she knew her life was changing in ways she could not control. Their meeting was brief, yet profound, as they shared a bond that transcended her mortal understanding, a union that would inevitably provoke Hera's fury. As rumors reached Hera's ears about Zeus's visits to her temple and his interest in Io, her suspicions grew. Hera's jealousy was legendary, and the thought of her husband pursuing one of her own priestesses filled her with anger. She watched Zeus closely, her gaze keen, waiting for any sign that would confirm her fears. And when she finally caught sight of her husband lingering near Io, her heart burned with the familiar sting of betrayal. Knowing that Zeus might attempt to protect Io, Hera devised a plan that would prevent her husband from concealing his lover. Appearing before Zeus with a calm yet menacing presence, Hera demanded to know the truth. Zeus, aware of her suspicion, quickly transformed Io into a sleek white cow in a desperate attempt to disguise her and avoid Hera's wrath. But Hera was not deceived. Seeing through Zeus's ruse, she feigned innocence, asking him to present the cow as a gift, a request that Zeus, unable to refuse, reluctantly granted. With Io now under her control, Hera had effectively outmaneuvered Zeus, turning the mortal woman's life into a living nightmare. She ordered the 100-eyed giant Argus, known for his unceasing vigilance, to guard Io day and night, ensuring that Zeus could not interfere. Trapped in the form of a cow, Io's life became one of isolation and sorrow. Stripped of her voice, her freedom, and her identity, she wandered the lands under Argus's watchful eyes, her once peaceful existence replaced by endless confinement. Unable to explain her suffering to those she encountered, she was reduced to a mere creature in their eyes, a being who bore no resemblance to the woman she had once been. Argus, with his 100 eyes that never fully closed, was an ever-present reminder of Hera's control. He led Io from pasture to pasture, never allowing her the chance to rest or find solace. The weight of her transformation pressed upon her, her spirit battered by the indignity of her new form and the hopelessness of her captivity. Though she longed for her former life, Io's days and nights became a blur of grazing fields and restless wandering under Argus's vigilant gaze. Seeing Io's suffering, Zeus's heart was filled with regret and determination. He knew that he could not allow Hera's punishment to continue unchecked, yet he understood the risks of directly defying her. Instead, he called upon Hermes, the clever and quick-witted messenger of the gods, entrusting him with a mission to free Io from Argus's relentless watch. Hermes, known for his cunning, devised a plan to lull Argus into a deep sleep. Disguising himself as a humble shepherd, he approached Argus with a soothing melody, weaving stories and songs that gradually lulled the giant's many eyes to close one by one. As the final eye shut, Hermes seized his opportunity and struck, ending Argus's watch over Io and freeing her from Hera's relentless gaze. Yet, even with Argus defeated, Io's suffering was far from over. Hera, upon discovering the death of her loyal guardian, was enraged and sought a new way to punish Io. Determined to prolong her suffering, Hera sent a gadfly, a relentless stinging insect, to pursue Io, driving her to wander endlessly across foreign lands, tormented by the unceasing pain of the gadfly's sting. Io's journey became a tragic odyssey, a tale of wandering and sorrow that stretched across seas and continents. Driven by the gadfly, she roamed through Greece, across the Bosporus, which would later be named in her honor, and into the distant lands of Egypt. The relentless sting of the gadfly was a constant reminder of Hera's anger, forcing Io to flee, never finding rest or peace. Though she passed through lands where people marveled at the sight of the white cow, none could understand the suffering that lay beneath her form. Alone and unable to communicate, Io's journey became one of survival, her spirit tested by the endless pursuit and the loneliness that accompanied it. The lands she crossed would remember her presence, naming rivers and landmarks in her honor, a testament to her resilience and endurance. As Io wandered, she encountered Prometheus, the Titan bound to the Caucasus Mountains as punishment for giving fire to humanity. In her cow form, she approached the chained Titan, who recognized her plight and took pity on her. He shared with her a prophecy, offering a glimmer of hope amidst her suffering. "Io," Prometheus spoke gently, his voice filled with sympathy and wisdom. "Your journey will not be without end. Though you suffer now, you will one day reach the land of Egypt, where Zeus will restore you to your human form. And from your lineage will come a hero, a descendant who will free me from my own chains and bring honor to your name." Prometheus's words brought Io a sense of comfort, a promise that her suffering would eventually lead to redemption. She continued her journey with newfound resilience, enduring the gadfly's torment and the endless miles that lay before her. Though her path remained fraught with hardship, Io held tightly to the prophecy, hoping that her trials would not be in vain. After many years of wandering, Io finally reached the land of Egypt. As foretold by Prometheus, Zeus intervened, bringing an end to her suffering and restoring her to her human form. Overcome with relief and gratitude, Io stood once more on 2 feet, her ordeal finally at an end. In Egypt, she was revered as a figure of endurance and grace, her story told and retold as a symbol of resilience in the face of divine wrath. Zeus, moved by Io's unwavering spirit, blessed her and assured her that her lineage would bring forth heroes and leaders, fulfilling Prometheus's prophecy. Her suffering had not been without purpose, for from her descendants would come a legacy that would influence both mortal and divine realms. Io's story spread far and wide, becoming a legend among mortals and a reminder among the gods of the consequences of divine jealousy. Her journey, marked by suffering yet guided by resilience, became an enduring tale of transformation and redemption. In Egypt, Io was revered as a goddess, her tale honored and remembered as one of bravery and strength. For Hera, however, Io's restoration was a bitter reminder of Zeus's defiance and the lengths he would go to protect those he loved. Though Io had escaped her wrath, Hera's jealousy would continue to influence her actions, driving her to guard her place as queen and to punish those who drew Zeus's affections. Zeus, though regretful for Io's suffering, could not deny his nature. He understood that his desires would continue to bring challenges and that each union, each mortal he loved, would weave yet another thread into the complex tapestry of fate that bound mortals and gods alike. But the allure of mortal love would continue to pull at Zeus's heart. Join us in the next episode as we follow the story of Semele, a mortal princess whose desire to see Zeus's true form will lead to both tragedy and the birth of a god. Witness the origins of Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry, whose life will forever bear the mark of divine passion and mortal loss. In the ancient city of Thebes, under the canopy of the sprawling olive groves and the gleaming sun, lived a mortal princess named Semele. Her beauty was legendary, her spirit as radiant as the sun itself. Her charm and kindness had earned her admiration from all who knew her, but Semele was not content with the comforts and luxuries of royal life. Her heart, like many mortals, longed for something greater, something beyond the bounds of her mortal existence. She dreamed of a love that transcended her earthly limits, a love that would bring her the immortality she had only heard of in the tales told by the wise. Little did she know, the king of the gods, Zeus, had been watching her from the heights of Olympus. Drawn by her beauty and the purity of her soul, Zeus felt an overwhelming desire to descend from his celestial throne and take part in the mortal world once more. His eyes, golden like the sun itself, were fixed on Semele, and he made the fateful decision to reveal himself to her in the guise of a mortal man. Disguised as a handsome stranger, Zeus appeared before Semele on a warm evening when the moon hung low in the sky, casting a silver glow across the land. The breeze whispered through the trees, and the air was filled with the scent of wildflowers. Semele, sitting on a terrace overlooking the city, felt a mysterious pull as she turned her gaze to the stranger who had entered her garden. His presence was magnetic, his smile warm, yet enigmatic. "Who are you, stranger?" she asked, her voice filled with both curiosity and caution. "I am but a humble traveler," Zeus replied with a smile, his eyes gleaming with the weight of his secret. "But fate has led me here, to this moment, to meet you, Semele, and to know the woman whose beauty and spirit have captivated the heavens." They spoke for hours, the conversation flowing like a river, and each word exchanged deepened their connection. Semele, enchanted by his charm, found herself drawn to him in a way she could not explain. Unbeknownst to her, the man before her was no mortal, but Zeus himself, king of the gods, ruler of the heavens. As the days passed, Semele's feelings for her new companion grew, and their secret meetings continued. With each encounter, her longing for him intensified, a longing that went beyond mere desire. It was as though she had been touched by something eternal, something divine. She felt a stirring deep within her, a call that resonated with the very core of her being. Zeus, too, was entranced by Semele's beauty, and he found himself falling in love with her, his heart for once unburdened by his divine duties. Yet as their love blossomed, the gods in Olympus began to take notice. Hera, queen of the gods and wife of Zeus, watched with growing suspicion and jealousy. She had seen her husband's fleeting affections for mortals before, but never had it been so intense, so consuming. Hera's heart, already tainted by past betrayals, could not bear the thought of another woman receiving the attention she so deeply craved. Hera's jealousy twisted in her heart, and she began to plot a quiet, subtle scheme designed to destroy the love between Zeus and Semele. Under the guise of an old woman, Hera descended to Thebes in secret. She found Semele alone one evening, sitting in the same garden where she had first met Zeus. Hera, with a voice full of false sympathy, approached the princess, offering her advice wrapped in the guise of concern. "My dear," Hera began, her voice laced with honey, "I have heard much of your lover, the man who claims to be a god." Semele, her heart full of doubt and desire, pondered the words of the old woman. She had already begun to suspect that her lover might be more than he seemed. The temptation to see the divine power of her lover was too great, and the doubt that had been sown by Hera began to take root. Later that night, when Zeus arrived, Semele greeted him with a mixture of love and uncertainty. "If you truly love me," she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of longing and fear, "show yourself to me as you truly are. Reveal your divine form." Zeus, with a deep sigh, knew that no mortal could survive the sight of a god's true form. But bound by his promise to fulfill her wish, he reluctantly agreed. "You are not ready for what you ask, Semele," he warned, "but I will grant your request, for you are the one I love." With a heavy heart, Zeus shed his mortal guise. As he did, the heavens seemed to tremble, and the very earth shuddered with the force of his divine presence. A blinding light erupted from him, lightning flashing, thunder crashing, his form glowing with the intensity of the sun itself. Semele, her eyes wide with awe and terror, caught a fleeting glimpse of his true form before the power of his divinity overwhelmed her. Her mortal body, unable to withstand the sheer intensity of the sight, was consumed by the divine fire. With a final scream, she was reduced to ashes, her life snuffed out like a candle caught in a storm. As the storm subsided and the light faded, Zeus stood in the ruins of their love, his heart breaking at the sight of Semele's ashes. In his grief, he noticed something, a faint spark of life still flickering within the ashes. It was their child, not yet born but full of divine power. With a heavy heart and a sense of desperation, Zeus reached into the ashes and saved the unborn child, carefully placing the spark of life into his own thigh. There, hidden from the world, the child grew, nurtured by the divine energy of Zeus himself. This child, born of both mortal love and divine power, would one day rise to change the world. Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and ecstasy. The tragedy of Semele's death would haunt Zeus for eternity, but in the aftermath, the divine spark of Dionysus would live on, bringing joy and chaos in equal measure. What new trials await Zeus as he seeks to balance his desires and the fate of his children? Join us in the next episode as the tale continues, revealing the mortal seduction of Alcmene and the birth of Hercules, a hero whose legend will span the heavens and the earth. In the city of Thebes lived a woman named Alcmene, known for her beauty, loyalty, and courage. She was the wife of Amphitryon, a noble warrior. Alcmene was admired not only for her grace, but for her fierce sense of duty and honor. She had waited patiently for Amphitryon, who was away on a long campaign, and she pledged to bear no children until he returned, honoring her vow of loyalty. Yet it was precisely these qualities that caught the attention of Zeus, who watched her from Olympus with admiration and desire. Alcmene's beauty was enhanced by her devotion, and her inner strength called to Zeus in a way that few mortals ever had. Despite knowing the risks, he found himself drawn to her, unable to resist the allure of her spirit. But Zeus also knew that winning Alcmene's heart would not be simple, for she was a woman of principle, deeply committed to her husband and her vow. To approach her would require more than mere charm or flattery. It would demand an act of divine cunning. To gain Alcmene's trust, Zeus devised a plan to take on the form of Amphitryon, returning victorious from battle. Disguised as her husband, he arrived at her home under the cover of night, his presence cloaked in familiarity and warmth. The sight of her husband filled Alcmene's heart with joy, and she welcomed him eagerly, believing that the long-awaited reunion had finally come. For Zeus, this disguise was a way to honor the devotion Alcmene felt for her husband. By taking on Amphitryon's form, he sought to bridge the gap between mortal loyalty and divine passion, creating a union that felt both true and extraordinary. Under the spell of the night and her perceived husband's embrace, Alcmene shared a moment of deep connection, unaware that it was the king of gods himself who held her close. The night stretched long as Zeus, in the guise of Amphitryon, prolonged the hours, weaving a spell of love and devotion. His touch, filled with reverence for her beauty and her strength, left a mark that would forever alter the fate of both gods and mortals. As dawn approached, Zeus departed quietly, leaving Alcmene in peaceful slumber, her spirit filled with contentment and love. The next day, the true Amphitryon returned from his campaign, filled with joy at the thought of reuniting with his wife. Yet, as he greeted Alcmene, he sensed something different about her, a strange yet radiant energy that seemed to linger in her gaze. Alcmene, confused by her husband's eagerness to recount his journey despite their recent reunion, felt a growing sense of unease. When Amphitryon insisted that he had just returned, Alcmene's heart began to race, her mind unable to reconcile the events of the night before with the reality now before her. She realized that her visitor had been more than mortal, and as she pieced together the truth, a profound sense of awe and fear took hold. Alcmene knew that she had shared a night with Zeus, king of the gods, and that their union would have far-reaching consequences. When Hera learned of Zeus's affair with Alcmene, her jealousy erupted once again. This time, however, her anger was fueled not only by Zeus's wandering heart, but by the knowledge of the child that would result from this union. She foresaw that this child, born of both mortal strength and divine power, would one day grow to be a hero of unmatched might, a figure who would capture the admiration of gods and mortals alike. determined to hinder the birth of this child, Hera devised a plan to delay Alcmene's labor, causing her unimaginable pain and distress. She summoned Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, instructing her to prevent the child's delivery by holding her powers over Alcmene, trapping her in a state of unending labor. Alcmene endured this torment, her body and spirit pushed to their limits as she struggled to bring forth her child. But even in her suffering, Alcmene's determination remained unbroken. She called upon her inner strength, praying to the gods for mercy and endurance. Her cries reached the ears of those who sympathized with her plight, and in a final, fateful moment, her loyal servants intervened, breaking Eileithyia's concentration and allowing Alcmene to finally give birth. Thus, Hercules was born, a child of both mortal and divine heritage, destined for greatness. From the moment he took his first breath, there was an aura of power about him, a strength that would define his life and his legacy. Zeus looked upon his son with pride, knowing that Hercules would face many trials yet overcome them, embodying both his mortal mother's resilience and his own godly might. Though still an infant, Hercules' power was undeniable. Hera, seeing this, felt a mixture of anger and fear, for she knew that Zeus's son would one day grow into a force that even the gods would acknowledge. She vowed to make his life difficult, to test his strength and spirit with challenges that would shape him into the hero he was destined to become. Yet, despite her resentment, Hera's interference only added to Hercules' legacy. Each trial she placed before him became a testament to his endurance, courage, and strength, solidifying his place in history and mythology as one of the greatest heroes the world would ever know. Even as a child, Hercules displayed strength beyond his years. Stories of his feats began early, as he famously strangled 2 serpents sent by Hera to his crib. This first challenge, meant to end his life, only showcased his power and set the tone for a life filled with trials. Hera's attempts to undermine him only fortified his resilience, for every obstacle she placed in his path became another opportunity for him to prove his worth. Alcmene, proud and fearful for her son, watched over him with a mixture of awe and apprehension. She knew that his life would be marked by great deeds and even greater sacrifices. Hercules' very existence was a bridge between the world of gods and mortals, his strength a gift and a burden that he would carry throughout his life. Under her guidance, Hercules grew in wisdom as well as strength, preparing for the destiny that awaited him. The story of Hercules' birth spread across the land, becoming a tale of inspiration for mortals and a reminder for the gods of the strength born from divine and mortal unions. Hercules embodied both the might of his father and the humanity of his mother, a blend that made him not only powerful, but also compassionate, capable of understanding the struggles of those he sought to protect. For Zeus, Hercules' life represented the merging of his love for mortals with his commitment to Olympus. Though he knew that Hercules' journey would be fraught with hardship, he trusted in his son's resilience, confident that Hercules would rise above the challenges set before him. Yet, he also recognized that Hera's continued wrath would shape his son's fate, setting into motion events that would test Hercules to his very core. Hercules would go on to perform great labors, feats that would immortalize him as one of the greatest heroes of all time. His strength and courage became symbols of hope, his story a reminder that even the children of gods were not immune to struggle, but could emerge from it stronger and more resolute. As Hercules grew, the gods of Olympus watched his development with keen interest. Athena admired his bravery and foresight, often assisting him in his labors, recognizing that his courage was matched only by his intelligence. Ares, god of war, saw in him a formidable warrior, a mortal who could wield strength in battle with a fierceness that rivaled any god's. Even Hera, despite her resentment, could not deny the impact Hercules would have on both mortals and gods. Though she sought to undermine him, her challenges ultimately honed his resilience, forging him into a hero worthy of legend. Her role in his life, though antagonistic, became part of the tale itself, adding depth to Hercules' legacy as a hero who overcame divine opposition to fulfill his destiny. The gods knew that Hercules was no ordinary mortal. He was a symbol of the potential within humankind, a bridge between Olympus and Earth that would inspire generations. In him, they saw the power of both divine and mortal love, a testament to the strength that emerged when the two worlds collided. Hercules' tale became legendary across Greece, a story told by mortals and admired by gods alike. His labors, his trials, and his triumphs resonated with all who heard them, serving as proof of the courage and strength that lay within even the most challenged souls. Hercules' legacy endured, becoming a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of love and sacrifice. For Alcmene, her son's life was a bittersweet blessing, a gift from Zeus that brought both pride and sorrow. She understood that her child would be a hero, revered across generations, yet his life would be fraught with hardship and sacrifice. Hercules' strength would lift him to heights no mortal could reach, yet it also set him apart, marking him as a man destined for a life that few could understand. And for Zeus, Hercules' life became a reminder of the lasting power of his connections to the mortal world, a bond that would echo through the ages. But Zeus's mortal loves would continue to spark conflicts in Olympus. Join us in the next episode as we delve into the story of Callisto, a follower of Artemis, whose life takes a tragic turn when Zeus's affections draw Hera's wrath once more. Witness the pain of betrayal and the haunting transformation that would place Callisto among the stars. untouched forests of Arcadia, there lived a nymph named Callisto, whose loyalty to Artemis was as unwavering as the stars. She was known for her grace and beauty, as well as her commitment to the hunt and the wilderness. As one of Artemis's followers, Callisto had taken a vow of chastity, dedicating herself entirely to the goddess and her way of life. She cherished the freedom of the wild, the companionship of her fellow nymphs, and the unbroken bond of sisterhood they shared. Callisto's devotion to Artemis and the purity of her spirit caught the attention of many, but none so powerful as Zeus, who observed her from afar. Though he understood the sanctity of her vow, he was captivated by her beauty and spirit, drawn to her in a way that defied his better judgment. Knowing the risks, he decided to approach her, but he would do so with great caution, aware that any intrusion would invoke the wrath of both Artemis and Hera. To gain Callisto's trust and to avoid detection by Artemis, Zeus took on the form of Artemis herself, adopting the goddess's face and voice. In this disguise, he approached Callisto, who welcomed her goddess with open arms and a heart full of reverence. She believed she was safe with her deity, unguarded and trusting, as Zeus in Artemis's form spoke to her with warmth and compassion. Through this deception, Zeus won Callisto's heart and trust. She did not resist, for in her eyes, her loyalty to Artemis was unwavering. Yet, in this moment, Callisto was unknowingly drawn into a union that would change her life forever. Zeus, in his mortal disguise, left her with a child, a son destined for greatness and tragedy alike. As he departed, leaving Callisto unaware of the true nature of their encounter, the seeds of fate took root, setting in motion a tale of betrayal, jealousy, and transformation. As time passed, Callisto's pregnancy became evident, her once slender form beginning to change. Her fellow nymphs looked on in confusion, for they had all sworn the same vow to Artemis, a vow Callisto seemed to have broken. At first, they tried to shield her from Artemis, hoping to understand what had happened. But the truth could not be hidden for long, and soon Artemis herself noticed the changes in her favored follower. Hurt and angered by what she saw as a betrayal, Artemis confronted Callisto. The goddess's fury was swift and fierce, her disappointment evident as she demanded an explanation from Callisto, who could only bow her head in silence. She was at a loss, unable to reconcile her loyalty to Artemis with the child she now carried. In her shame, Callisto tried to explain, but Artemis's anger was relentless. Believing that her trusted nymph had broken her vow willingly, Artemis cast Callisto out of her circle, banishing her from the sisterhood and the life she had loved. Callisto's heart broke as she left the forest that had been her home, her spirit crushed by the rejection of the goddess she revered. She wandered alone, carrying her unborn child, her life forever altered by the bond she had unknowingly formed with Zeus. When Hera discovered yet another of Zeus's affairs and learned of Callisto's pregnancy, her jealousy ignited with a fresh fury. Hera's resentment ran deep, fed by the many betrayals she had endured, and Callisto's presence was yet another reminder of Zeus's unfaithfulness. Unable to punish Zeus directly, Hera turned her wrath upon Callisto, deciding to curse her in a way that would strip her of any remaining dignity and peace. As Callisto walked through the forest, heavy with sorrow and regret, Hera appeared before her in a blaze of fury. With a single vengeful command, Hera transformed Callisto into a bear, her human form replaced with a towering fur-covered body, her cries reduced to animalistic roars. In an instant, Callisto's identity, her memories and her voice were locked within this new form, her spirit imprisoned in the body of a creature that would be feared and hunted. For Callisto, the transformation was a living nightmare. The world she had once cherished became alien to her. Her hands now paws, her voice now a growl. She roamed the forests she once called home, hiding from the very hunters she had once fought beside, forced to flee from those who would harm her. Her life became one of constant fear and isolation, a punishment that echoed Hera's vengeance. Despite her transformation, Callisto managed to give birth to her son, Arcas, a child of both divine and mortal lineage. She watched over him from a distance, careful not to reveal herself, fearing that her monstrous appearance would terrify him. Arcas grew up unaware of his mother's true identity, raised by those who saw him as an orphan, a child touched by destiny. As he grew, Arcas became a skilled hunter, brave and strong, much like the mother he never knew. Though he was unaware of his heritage, the blood of both Zeus and Callisto ran through his veins, granting him gifts that would one day shape his path. Callisto, as a bear, followed him from afar, her heart filled with pride and sorrow as she watched him mature. She longed to embrace her son, to tell him the truth, but her curse held her back, condemning her to a life of silent observation. Years passed, and Arcas grew into a man. One day, while hunting in the forest, he encountered a bear. His mother, Callisto, who had followed him, her heart yearning to be close to her child, unaware of her true identity. Arcas raised his spear, ready to strike down the creature before him. Callisto, recognizing her son, stood frozen, unable to flee but unable to approach without risking her life at his hands. As Arcas moved forward, Zeus, watching from Olympus, intervened to prevent the tragedy that was about to unfold. In a moment of compassion, he cast them both into the heavens, transforming Callisto and Arcas into constellations that would forever watch over the night sky. Callisto became Ursa Major, the Great Bear, and Arcas was placed beside her as Ursa Minor, the Little Bear. In the sky, Mother and son were reunited, bound together as stars for all eternity. Though Hera was angered by Zeus's intervention, her vengeance was tempered by the knowledge that Callisto would forever remain a reminder of Zeus's indiscretions, visible to all who looked up at the night sky. Callisto's transformation and her tragic reunion with Arcus became a tale told among mortals, a story of betrayal, suffering, and ultimate redemption. As the constellation Ursa Major, Callisto's presence lit up the night, a reminder of the price of love and the consequences of divine wrath. The people looked upon the stars, seeing in them the image of a mother who, despite her suffering, continued to protect her son. Arcus, too, was remembered for his strength and courage, his place in the heavens a testament to the bond that transcended his mother's curse. Together, their constellations became symbols of resilience and endurance, their legacy a mixture of sorrow and strength woven into the fabric of both mortal and divine realms. In Olympus, the gods observed the story of Callisto with a mixture of sympathy and caution. Artemis, though still hurt by what she saw as betrayal, felt a pang of sorrow for her former follower, recognizing that Callisto's fate had been one of tragic deception. "The cost of our wrath can be great," she admitted softly, "and sometimes we lose more than we realize in the act of retribution." Athena, goddess of wisdom, regarded Callisto's transformation with a somber expression. "There is a cruelty in curses that extend beyond their initial purpose," she observed. Callisto's loyalty was true, yet she suffered the price of divine jealousy. Perhaps there is wisdom in restraint. Even Zeus, though often detached from the consequences of his actions, felt a measure of responsibility for Callisto's suffering. He understood that his desires had led to her downfall, her life forever altered by forces she could neither resist nor comprehend. Yet, he also knew that her legacy as a constellation would be seen by mortals for generations, a reminder of the beauty and pain bound within the mortal world. The tale of Callisto and Arcus endured as a symbol of love and tragedy, a story passed down through generations as both a warning and a tribute. Mortals would gaze upon Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, finding comfort in the constancy of the stars, seeing in them a reflection of resilience and an eternal bond. Callisto's life, though marked by suffering, became a part of the cosmos, her legacy immortalized as a mother's love that defied even divine punishment. For Hera, Callisto's presence in the sky remained a reminder of her husband's betrayal. Though Zeus had lifted her curse, the constellation stood as a permanent mark of her vengeance and her role as protector of her marriage. Her anger, though softened by time, continued to shape her actions, her influence casting a shadow over any mortal who dared to capture Zeus's affection. Thus, Callisto's story became both a celestial guide and a cautionary tale, her transformation a reminder that even gods are bound by the emotions that govern love, jealousy, and retribution. But Zeus's desires were not limited to mortal women. Join us in the next episode as we delve into the story of Ganymede, a mortal youth whose beauty would capture Zeus's attention and earn him a place in Olympus as the cupbearer of the gods. Witness the complexities of divine favor and the jealousy it stirs among both mortals and immortals. In the hills of Troy lived a young shepherd named Ganymede, known throughout the land for his extraordinary beauty and grace. He was the son of Tros, the king of Troy, and his radiance surpassed even that of the finest sculptures and paintings. With his charm, kindness, and innocence, Ganymede was beloved by all who met him. His days were spent tending his father's flocks and exploring the rolling fields, his spirit free and unburdened by the concerns of the world. Yet Ganymede's beauty did not go unnoticed, for his radiance reached beyond mortal eyes and stirred the heart of Zeus himself. The king of gods had seen many mortals, yet something about Ganymede's innocence and grace captivated him in a way he could not resist. Zeus felt an admiration that went beyond mere desire. He saw in Ganymede a purity that he longed to protect and cherish. Determined to bring Ganymede to Olympus, Zeus resolved to make the boy his cupbearer, a position of high honor reserved only for those most esteemed among gods and mortals. But he knew that for this to happen, he would have to take Ganymede from his mortal life, a decision that would forever change the boy's fate. One day, as Ganymede tended to his flock on a hilltop, a shadow swept across the sky. Looking up, he saw a magnificent eagle descending toward him, its wings spread wide and its eyes sharp and intense. The bird seemed to shine with a divine glow, its presence both awe-inspiring and otherworldly. In truth, this eagle was Zeus himself, who had transformed into the mighty creature to carry Ganymede to Olympus without drawing attention from other gods or mortals. As the eagle approached, Ganymede felt a strange mixture of fear and wonder, sensing that this was no ordinary creature. The bird landed gracefully beside him, and before he could react, it seized him gently in its powerful talons and lifted him into the sky. With the strength of a god, the eagle soared higher and higher, carrying Ganymede beyond the clouds and toward the gates of Olympus. Though he was taken aback by the journey, Ganymede's heart swelled with excitement, a sense of destiny filling him as he ascended to the realm of the gods. The world he had known faded away beneath him, replaced by a new, celestial landscape that glowed with a light unlike anything he had ever seen. and though he did not fully understand his fate, he trusted in the strength of the creature that bore him aloft. Upon reaching Olympus, Zeus revealed himself to Ganymede, greeting him with warmth and kindness. He explained that he had chosen the boy not out of caprice, but because he saw in him a spirit that deserved to be honored. "Ganymede," Zeus said, his voice gentle yet commanding, "your beauty and grace have moved me in a way no mortal has. I would offer you a place here, where you will be cherished and respected as the gods themselves are." Awed and humbled, Ganymede accepted Zeus's offer, understanding that his life would forever be changed. He took on the role of Cupbearer to the gods, a position that involved serving the gods their nectar and ambrosia, ensuring their eternal youth and vitality. In this role, Ganymede stood beside the gods themselves, honored and revered as one of Olympus's own. The other gods welcomed Ganymede with open arms, recognizing the favor Zeus had bestowed upon him. Some admired the boy's humility and beauty, while others watched with quiet envy, aware of the special place he now held in the king's heart. Ganymede, with his kind and innocent nature, quickly became beloved, earning the respect of gods and goddesses alike. Yet not all on Olympus welcomed Ganymede's presence. Hera, Zeus's wife and the queen of the gods, looked upon him with suspicion and resentment. She knew her husband's history with mortals and saw Ganymede's presence as a threat to her position and dignity. To her, Ganymede was another reminder of Zeus's wandering heart, another mortal who had claimed his favor and disrupted the harmony of Olympus. Though Ganymede's role was one of servitude, Hera sensed the closeness between him and Zeus, a bond that seemed unbreakable and unique. Hera's jealousy simmered beneath the surface, her thoughts filled with ways to undermine Ganymede's place among them. But Zeus, aware of Hera's discontent, made it clear that Ganymede's position was not to be questioned, ensuring his protection with a power only he could wield. Despite Hera's scorn, Ganymede continued his duties with grace and humility, treating each task as an honor rather than a burden. His presence became a symbol of purity and loyalty in Olympus, a beacon that shone despite the shadows cast by jealousy and resentment. Over time, Ganymede's role as the cupbearer grew to symbolize more than just servitude. He became associated with the role of the water bearer, a figure who provides life and sustenance to all, both mortal and divine. This association led Zeus to place Ganymede in the night sky as the constellation Aquarius, honoring his role in a way that would immortalize him for eternity. As the constellation Aquarius, Ganymede was not only a servant of the gods, but a figure who would bestow life-giving waters upon the earth, representing the virtues of generosity and innocence. The people of Greece looked to the stars and saw in Aquarius a reminder of the boy who had captured the heart of the king of gods, a mortal who had risen to Olympus through beauty, grace, and pure spirit. Through this transformation, Ganymede's story became intertwined with the lives of those who gazed upon the stars. His presence felt not only by the gods, but by mortals who saw in him a reminder of the bond between their world and the divine. Ganymede's story spread throughout Greece, becoming a tale of beauty, humility, and divine favor. Mortals admired the young boy who had ascended to the heavens, his journey serving as a reminder that even the humblest mortal could capture the heart of the gods. In Ganymede, they saw both the blessings and burdens of divine favor, the joy and isolation that came with his unique position. For the gods, Ganymede's presence was a reminder of Zeus's power and his capacity for kindness, a testament to the beauty that could be found even in the simplest mortal soul. And though Hera's resentment lingered, she could not deny the strength of Zeus's affection, recognizing that Ganymede's place in Olympus was unshakable. With time, even her jealousy softened, for she saw that Ganymede's loyalty and service upheld the dignity of Olympus, bringing peace and harmony to the gods he served. Ganymede's legacy lived on, both in the stars and in the hearts of those who remembered his tale. The constellation Aquarius became a symbol of compassion and humility, a light in the night sky that shone as brightly as the boy's own spirit. In Olympus, the gods observed the bond between Zeus and Ganymede with varying degrees of admiration and envy. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, saw in Ganymede a reflection of loyalty and purity, virtues that resonated with her own ideals. "The favor Zeus has shown him," she remarked thoughtfully, "is not merely for beauty, but for the unwavering innocence that few mortals possess." Apollo, god of music and poetry, found inspiration in Ganymede's story, his presence a reminder of the artistry that could be found in mortal souls. "He brings a unique grace to Olympus," Apollo observed, "and reminds us that beauty lies not only in form, but in spirit." Yet others saw in Ganymede a symbol of Zeus's impulsive desires, a reminder of the mortal lives forever changed by his whims. Some gods, loyal to Hera, felt a pang of resentment, knowing that Ganymede's presence could only deepen the rift between Zeus and his queen. Still, they recognized that Ganymede's grace and humility tempered the usual discord, bringing a sense of peace to Olympus that was rare and welcome. As time passed, Ganymede's tale became a legend among mortals, a story passed down through generations as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale. Mortals looked upon Aquarius in the night sky, seeing in its light a reminder of the boy who had ascended to the heavens, whose beauty and innocence had captivated the king of the gods. His story became a part of the mortal experience, a reflection of the fragile line between human and divine. For Zeus, Ganymede's legacy was a testament to the power of connection, a reminder that even a god could be moved by the beauty and kindness of a single mortal soul. The bond they shared defied the boundaries of Olympus, marking Ganymede as more than a servant, but as a beloved presence in the life of the gods. But not all of Zeus's connections would bring peace to Olympus. Join us in the next episode as we explore the lives of those who loved Zeus yet were left behind, their hearts broken by his wandering passions. Discover the stories of mortals and goddesses alike, whose devotion to Zeus left them with scars that would shape their destinies forever.
As Zeus sat atop his throne on Olympus, he looked down upon the mortal world, recalling the loves he had known, the passions that had burned brightly, yet left lasting marks on the souls of those he'd left behind. Each encounter was a vivid memory, a mortal woman's laughter, a nymph's whispered promise, a princess's look of awe. Yet woven into each memory was also a trace of sorrow, a lingering sense of lives touched and changed forever by the presence of a god. Zeus had known the powerful allure of love, the thrill of new bonds formed between worlds, but he understood too that his divine touch had left wounds that even time could not heal. The broken hearts of his lovers, mortal and divine, had become part of the fabric of existence, stories of loyalty, betrayal, and longing that intertwined with the fates of gods and mortals alike. As he reflected, Zeus could not help but feel the weight of his own actions, the heartbreak and resilience his loves had inspired across the ages. One of the most tragic of Zeus's loves was Semele, the Theban princess who had captivated him with her beauty and innocence. Desiring to see him in his true divine form, Semele was encouraged by Hera, disguised in the form of a confidant, to demand this of Zeus. Bound by an oath he could not break, Zeus revealed himself in all his divine glory, his radiant form too overwhelming for her mortal eyes. In an instant, Semele was consumed by his godly power, leaving behind only ashes and sorrow. From their union, however, came Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry, who would later carry his mother's spirit and legacy into Olympus. Yet for Zeus, the memory of Semele remained bittersweet, a reminder of the dangers that mortal love held when touched by divine hands. The goddess Hera, meanwhile, saw Semele's fate as just retribution, a warning to any mortal who dared to claim Zeus's heart. Semele's story became a tale of both tragedy and rebirth, her life and loss intertwined with the legacy of the son who would become one of the gods. Another of Zeus's loves was Io, a beautiful priestess who suffered greatly under Hera's wrath. When Hera discovered Zeus's affection for Io, she transformed her into a cow, stripping her of her voice and freedom, and placed her under the constant torment of a gadfly. Io's journey became an endless wandering across lands and seas, her life defined by pain and isolation. Eventually, Zeus took pity on her, ending her torment and restoring her form once she reached Egypt. There, Io was revered as a goddess, her suffering becoming a symbol of resilience and strength. Yet Io's life was forever changed, marked by the pain and trials she endured simply for having captured the heart of a god. Her transformation and journey remained a painful memory on Olympus, a reminder of the price that mortals paid for their connection to the divine. Callisto, a devoted follower of Artemis, was another victim of Hera's jealousy. After Zeus approached her in disguise, Callisto's life was irrevocably changed. Upon discovering her pregnancy, Artemis, feeling betrayed, cast her out. Hera, upon learning of Callisto's connection to Zeus, cursed her, transforming her into a bear, a creature feared and hunted. Callisto's life became one of solitude, a reminder of the mercy and cruelty intertwined in Olympus's rule over mortals. Though Zeus eventually placed her in the heavens as the constellation Ursa Major, her transformation was a lasting scar on the fabric of Olympus. Callisto's fate became a legend of betrayal and resilience, a tale of a woman who had loved unknowingly and suffered unjustly. Her starry form in the night sky served as both tribute and caution, her spirit immortalized yet forever marked by divine jealousy. Among the most enduring of Zeus's mortal loves was Europa, a Phoenician princess whom Zeus pursued by transforming into a white bull. She trusted the creature, drawn to its gentleness and beauty, only to be carried away across the sea to Crete. Europa's life changed as she bore Zeus's children, one of whom, Minos, would go on to shape the legacy of Crete as a powerful king. Though Europa's life was marked by the influence of Olympus, she found peace in her role as queen, her resilience and strength shaping the destiny of her lineage. The tale of Europa was told for generations, her bravery and grace remembered as an inspiration, even as her life served as a reminder of the ways that love, divine or mortal, could bring both joy and change. On Olympus, the gods observed Zeus's loves and the sorrow left in their wake with a mix of sympathy and judgment. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, viewed the stories of these mortal women with both understanding and caution. Each love, each life touched by the divine, is forever altered, she observed quietly. They become legends, yet their lives are marked by struggle, a reminder of the power and responsibility we hold. Apollo, god of music and poetry, saw beauty in the tragedy. Their tales echo through the ages, he mused. In their joy and suffering, mortals become immortal, living on as stars, as legends, in song and story. They are proof that the bonds we forge extend beyond time and memory. Hera, however, could not overlook the betrayal. To her, each story was a wound, a scar on her pride and honor. She looked upon the mortals Zeus had loved with scorn, yet also recognized the pain they had endured. Love is a fragile thing, she murmured. It binds and breaks. Mortals may love with open hearts, but we gods must guard ours, or suffer the same fate. The gods knew that these stories were more than memories. They were part of Olympus's very essence, woven into the fabric of mortal and divine realms alike. Each lover left behind a legacy, a reminder of the joy and pain that came with loving a god. Though their lives were brief in the eyes of Olympus, The mortal lovers Zeus left behind were immortalized in the heavens. Io's journey across the lands and seas was remembered as the Bosporus, the path she had traveled in her torment. Callisto's transformation was commemorated in Ursa Major, a constellation that watched over the night sky, her spirit forever present in the cosmos. Europa's name was given to lands and kingdoms, her legacy echoing in the places where her descendants would rule. These constellations became symbols of both beauty and tragedy, reminders of the impact the gods had on mortal lives. For Zeus, they were more than stars. They were fragments of his past, reminders of the joy, love, and sorrow that marked his own journey as king of the gods. They remained in the night sky, enduring beyond the bounds of time, as both tributes and cautionary tales for those who looked up and saw their stories reflected in the stars. As Zeus gazed at the night sky, he could see the constellations of those he had loved, each star a testament to lives touched and changed forever. He understood that his affections had left marks, that his love, though powerful, came with a cost. The constellations were beautiful, yet they held a weight of sorrow, a reminder of the pain and sacrifice that came with the lives he had intertwined with Olympus. Zeus realized that the bonds between gods and mortals were fragile, fraught with longing, jealousy, and inevitable loss. His love for these mortals had brought them into the heavens, yet it had also brought them sorrow. The stories of his lovers, woven into the cosmos, served as eternal reminders of the duality of divine affection, its beauty and its burden, its power and its pain. The tales of Zeus's lovers became part of Greek mythology, immortalized not only in the stars, but in the stories told by mortals. Each lover, each heartbreak, each legend became part of the rich tapestry of human and divine history. Mortals looked up at the stars, seeing in them both inspiration and warning, knowing that to be loved by a god was a blessing that carried its own kind of curse. For Zeus, the lives of his lovers were more than mere memories. They were reflections of his own journey, a reminder of the beauty and complexity of existence. Though his lovers had departed from the mortal realm, they remained forever close to him in the night sky, silent witnesses to the rise and fall of a god. But as these lovers left behind their marks on the world, their children would carry forth new legacies. Join us in the next series as we delve into Zeus's relationships with his divine and mortal children, sons and daughters who would go on to shape their own destinies and challenge the bonds between father and offspring. In the first episode, discover the story of Athena, the daughter born from Zeus's very mind, a child destined to become his greatest ally and fiercest advisor in the trials to come.